this intersection of church, liturgical worship life, home life, freelance work life,
Yes.
and today, like Substack life, how
That's
this
right.
works. So
That's
thanks
right.
for flying on this adventure with me. And thank you for those of you who are joining us live. And we're so glad that you're here. Maybe some of you will be watching this later on the recording. And so we welcome you as well. I just want to actually introduce Ashley, the small bit I know about you. And if there's anything you want to add, Ashley Tumlin Wallace, you live in Florida. I know that. You are a writer. You've authored a few books about the liturgical year. Plus, you have a really robust blog and online presence in terms of just helping people who want to live everyday liturgical life know how to do that. And I'm so grateful. I think it was about probably around 15-ish years ago when everything was brand new to me. Every single thing was brand new to me. And I I really relied on people like you to help me know, like, what color candle am I supposed to use? And for me, also, like, why? Why does it matter? And so
Right.
in your writing, I notice how you really do a good job of combining how, why, and you keep that heart there. So
Well,
what
thank
else would
you.
you want us to know about you before we continue today?
Okay. Well, I'm a mom of four, um, going all the way from 23 to 16. So that keeps me very busy. My husband is a priest in the Anglican Church, and we planted a church in the panhandle of Florida 13 years ago. And so, yeah, I grew up in the Episcopal Church, which is liturgical, but we didn't celebrate liturgy in my home. And definitely went through a period of, I don't want to be in this church anymore. I don't know why we do anything that we do. And went non denominational for about 5 years and then met my husband, and he wanted to be a Anglican priest. And so it was like, here we go. So when we were in seminary and my kids were really little, um, we were surrounded by liturgy again and just beginning to ask questions, which I never did before. It was just like, I don't know why we do this. I'm out. But really, like, oh, there's a reason why the priests wear black. There's a reason why they have a notch collar. There's a reason why we celebrate Advent and why we do this color or this. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. And it was just such a fabulous way for me to bring more meaning into the home, because we were Christians, but you know, you read a little Christian children's Bible to them and you sing Christian songs. And I don't know, it just seemed like I wanted more. And so finding out about liturgical traditions and how there are traditional things you can cook on this day. And, there are traditional things you can do on this day. It just was just totally what I was seeking at the time and has ended up being such a rich, meaningful way to live as a family and then to connect us with our church and the church, universal. So I've really loved it.
It's wonderful. There are several places that we share commonalities, including for children. I have four children, and they range from age from 27 to 34. And now I'm having grandchildren, and with my grandchildren, I get to kind of like, I didn't know about the liturgical year when my kids were little, and so it's so sweet to have this like redo.
Uh-huh.
Not that there's a lot that we did with our children before I was aware of the church calendar that is beautiful and remains part of our tradition. Um, but it's really sweet to kind of be going into the second generation. For
Uh-huh.
another day,
Uh-huh.
I would love to hear your experience or talk more with you about how your children are now carrying these practices with them and what you noticed. Obviously, they have their own stories, but what you're noticing as your kids are kind of becoming adults and how that's shaped them as they leave home. But that is a whole topic we could do. Let's do that on another day.
Okay.
For today, what we're talking about is Advent. liturgical living, particularly in December, and also your beautiful home planner, the liturgical home planner and
Mm.
calendar, which you have a gorgeous example right on the wall behind you.
Yes.
That's beautiful. I'm going to ask you to talk about that in just a minute.
Okay.
Before we go any further, thanks again for those of you who are joining us. A couple just quick things to note that this live stream recording will be sent out to free and paid subscribers. Ashley may, I don't know, you'll have the option to send if you would like or just share the link with your subscribers.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So if you're not a subscriber to either one of us and you just kind of stumbled on this live stream, go ahead and subscribe so you can get the link to replay the whole recording. I'll also be sharing when I send this out, which will be in the next day or two, I'll be sharing some notes and links just to kind of like add substance to what we're talking about here today so people can access everything easily. And the other thing I want to remind folks, if you're just joining us, is that the Advent and Christmas Daybook for Restful, which is my Substack, is arriving daily for folks through January 6th. And that is for paid subscribers. And you're so welcome to join us. And if for some reason a paid subscription is prohibitive for you right now, you're totally welcome to send me a message, and I'll make sure you get set up with a paid account so you can join us. And this year, it's been such a delight. I mean, we're only on day 3, right? Today is day 3. And I've already had so much fun and so much joy because this year I've invited Ashley to join us, and she is contributing a lot of her knowledge about liturgical traditions. So on Sunday, for example, I was able to share some of your um, information about an Advent wreath, the how and the why, and link to your information about that. But we're also being joined by Victoria Emily Jones, who runs the excellent blog Art and Theology. She has discipled me more in my understanding of how we can prayerfully um, our imaginations can grow prayerfully as we spend time with art more than anybody I know. And so her Art and Theology blog. So she is contributing some of her commentary, some of her what she's grown and loved about art in the different pieces that I'll be sharing. And then Claude Atcho, who is an Anglican priest, and he has just written a book, which I meant to have in front of me, and I forgot. But Rhythms of Faith, which is a devotional book through the whole liturgical year. And I'm sharing excerpts of his throughout the year as well. And at the end of end of our live stream, I'm going to be doing a drawing to give one of his books away to a paid subscriber. And I'm going to invite you to pick a random number so you can be thinking about favorite numbers so that to help me do that drawing. So, having said that, I'd like to just ask a few questions for whatever we have time for. We don't need to rush through this. So, if we get through only one or two, that's totally fine. I think you already touched a little bit on how you first began celebrating the liturgical year in your home, as you talked about kind of growing up in the church, and then you kind of stepped away for a little bit into the non-denominational expression of worship, and then as you were married and came back and began a family, you came back into the Anglican Church.
Mhm.
Is there anything more you'd want to say about that? What drew you in, and especially Advent? Can you remember kind of your earliest Advent, celebrating Advent in the liturgical year? Anything from that you'd want to share with us?
Yeah, actually, when my husband was at seminary, we were in right outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and there it was really random. There was a magazine for Milwaukee, and it was featuring a really famous restaurant, and the head chef was French. He wasn't Christian. But he was sharing that during the season of Advent, he was going to be making the traditional small village in France recipes that they made in during Advent. And I was like, what is he talking about? I had just never heard anything like that. That
Mm.
cultures I knew about like no meat on Fridays and stuff like that. But I just thought that was so beautiful that there were these different cultures that had ways liturgically that they incorporated food into their home. And so that just really, and it was Advent, it was all Advent food recipes. And so that just really piqued my interest and made me want to just research all about the Christian communities all around the world and traditionally, how they celebrated Advent with food or Lent with food. Um, and then just, I think, starting to learn about all of those traditions and incorporating them into my home with my kids. And then just, I think,
So sorry.
that's okay.
Keep going.
It's okay. Just, I don't know. It was really hard to know what to do and what not to do because I thought it was all so beautiful. The Advent music, the Advent countdown calendar and the wreath. So I tried to do as many as I could without totally, stressing myself out. But I think my favorite is um, lighting the Advent wreath. That has been such a meaningful thing. I get bigger candles. I get pillar candles so that we can light the candles every day. I know a lot of my followers have complained about when they use the taper candles, you really can only light them once a week because they just burn down so quickly. So we did the pillar candles, and that was just a really special time during dinner or after dinner or before bed, always gathering for evening prayer and, walking through the scriptures that lead up to the birth of Christ, like the prophecies and all of that. And just lighting the candles. And candles are magical when you have kids. There
Yes.
is just something just so powerful, they quiet down,
Mhm.
they get entranced with the candle flame. I mean, it's such a powerful thing to use with kids is candles and lighting them. And yeah, it just seemed like my kids were crazy, just like other kids. But it
Yep.
seems like when we lit the candles, there would be a little bit of a hush and you had this very brief moment of connection.
Yep. Yes.
So
That was, just to interject, something that because we began liturgical traditions at home, when my kids were like late middle school, early high school, like that's not necessarily prime time to introduce a new family
right.
tradition. And the candles it was the gateway for all of us because we
Yeah,
all like you said, there's something magical. And I remember a friend reached out to me in those kind of early years and like, I'm trying to do this too, but like I can't seem to make it work. And I was like, all right, if you do nothing else, turn off the lights, light a
right.
candle, and read a Bible verse.
Right, totally.
It'll be amazing. And that worked. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is, and I
Yeah.
always whenever I go and speak at places, I always suggest that just like you, and I can tell they're kind of like, that just sounds so basic,"
Yep.
but it really has such a powerful effect. I
Yeah.
can't yeah, I mean, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I love that. Well,
And
I
and,
also love,
like oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say that liturgical living is for everyone. We all should be doing it, whether we're single or, we have little children or we're empty nesters. Um, this is a communal thing that we all do as Christians in the church, and it unites us. And so, just wanting to encourage you if you're single or empty nesters or whatever, to still do it. It
yes.
takes effort and you might feel weird about it, but it is so beautiful and meaningful.
Yeah, that is such an important note. I'm so glad that you made it. I would I not that we need to, make value statements about which household could benefit more than another, but I would say that maybe the more you're longing for communion with others, the more, rich the liturgical year can be for you,
Mhm.
because it does connect you. It connects you with this larger family of God, and we always need to be quieted. We always need the
Yes.
stillness. Since we're talking about Advent, we always need celebration too. If we were talking
Right.
about another time of year,
Mm.
so let's jump ahead. And I definitely want to, if you're open to it, talk with you again because
Sure.
everything you say, I want to ask you a few more things, but just to keep this time manageable for folks, let's talk about your liturgical home planner and calendar. I'd love to know kind of if you whatever you'd like to share about how it came to be, how it was made, and how you dreamed it up, and
Okay.
how you're hearing about how folks are using it, what you're hearing from folks who are using it.
Okay. I originally started researching about all of the traditions, recipes, meanings behind it, and wrote guidebooks for each season. And
Mhm.
so I do have a guidebook for every season except for Epiphany. That's going to be released next year. But I just have been trying to think about what it was like for me, and wanting to celebrate the liturgical home. And I just felt like, I'm sorry, I have a hair in my mouth.
No worries.
I just felt like the next thing I knew, it was St. Nicholas Day, and I
Mm.
wanted to celebrate it, but it was like, oh my word, it's already here. And I didn't go get the things I needed to get. And I just was so frustrated always with feeling like I wasn't prepared and I didn't know what was coming up. And that's really difficult. Um, it just is very discouraging. And so I wanted to create something that was visual that you could keep up with. And it has to be changed every year because there are a lot of perpetual calendars, but you still don't know when Easter starts that year or
Mm.
when Advent falls that year. And so we wanted to do something. When I say we, my husband and I wanted to do something that you knew every year exactly what day Advent was starting, exactly when Easter was coming, and my husband had given me one like not like this, but circular, and you could
Mhm.
hang it on the wall when I was young, a young mom, and it was from a Catholic publishing house. And I just couldn't find anything like that recently. I don't know why. So it was like, okay, well, let's just make one for ourselves. And so my husband used to be a graphic designer. And so we planned like what we wanted it to look like, the font, the colors, everything like that. But it's for, if you're I've had children's church ministers buy it and put it up in their children's church, and that way it's an interactive thing with the kids at the beginning of their children's church lesson. That's how I use it. I'm a children's church
Mhm.
minister. And so we get up and we go to the calendar and we say, let's find where we are. And it not only shows the season that you're in, but then it shows the individual special days that are going to occur within
Mm.
that season. And so that's been really, really fun to talk about what does the color red mean? It's for the saints that died that were martyred for their faith. What does the color white mean and gold? So that's been a really powerful tool. And I've also had churches buy it and put it up like in the office or on display. And then, of course, for personal use, people buy them and hang them up. So that's where it was born. And then I continue to have followers want more of a help to celebrate. And so just this year, we released a liturgical planner, and it's big enough in size that you can write in it. And it will change every year with the dates. So you know exactly where you are in the liturgical season. And I do like brief explainers on the season, what's coming up. And then we have, 2-page calendar spreads with all the feast days, all the fast days, when this new season starts. And then we have little markings with a recipe. I give a recipe for each month just to kind of give you a head start to help you feel like I don't know how to do this, but to get just to help, just to create it as a help. And it's got to-do lists, it's got recipes and all of the days, special days marked. So that was it. Just trying to make it was such a beautiful thing to add to my life. It brought so much meaning and connection and joy. And I wanted my followers to be able to just enter into it as easily as possible.
Lovely. And I love, as I'm listening to you describe how they're made, how well they work together. So you have, the one that hangs on the wall that gives you that big reminder, the
Mhm.
visual reminder on a daily, weekly basis.
Mhm.
And then you have the one that you can mark up and really contextualize for
Right.
your own family life or your own work life. That's beautiful. So we're excited. So every month, I think I told you this, every month I do it's kind of a way I pray for the folks who subscribe to Restful. And I just sort of handwrite a list of everybody who has either taken out or renewed or gifted a subscription. And then I do a drawing and give away a resource, something that someone I know, love, admire, appreciate, respect has created. And so for those of you, for subscribers in December, so folks who take out a paid subscription to Restful, renew a paid subscription, or gift a paid subscription, I'm going to do a drawing for your liturgical home, and the whoever wins can choose between the planner or the calendar. So if you don't want to, if you are a subscriber and you want to hope to win, I'll be doing that drawing around January 1st. If you don't want to wait that long, or you're just not typically lucky in drawings, just go ahead and buy it. And I'll put a link to purchase that in the post when this video goes out. So let's move ahead. I just
Okay.
wanted to check real quick. I don't think we have any comments or questions, but I'm just going to I have my little window open over here. I'll peek over here. If anybody has a comment or question, you can go ahead and put that in. And if I'm able to see it, I will ask Ashley, or you can ask me as well. Just as we give folks a minute or two to do that, I'm curious this Advent, Ashley, um, is there a particular practice? You already mentioned candle lighting being kind of an anchor for you always. But is there a practice or even a scripture or a phrase from scripture anchoring you this year, 2025 Advent? What's meaningful for you this year?
So we are the Advent wreath for sure. But what I am doing personally is I love the Bible Project. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
Yeah, love
they
them.
have a podcast. And so I don't know if they intentionally, I don't think so, because I think the podcast is a little bit older, but it's walking through the theme of the wilderness. And so they're starting all the way from the beginning of the Bible and walking through Paul's letters and Revelation and talking about the wilderness and what it means and what God is hoping to accomplish in the wilderness, which I just think is so appropriate because that is what Advent is supposed to be in our lives. A time where we are going out into the wilderness and silencing all the noise around us and just spending time with God, recognizing our faults and our sin, cleansing our hearts, asking for repentance, asking others to forgive us. I said asking for repentance, asking for forgiveness. And so it's just been really, really meaningful to go through the whole theme, and you're going through all the books of the Bible that have it in there and reading
Wow,
about it. And so that's been really, really meaningful to me since Advent started.
that's beautiful. And I'll make sure I put a link in the post when
Okay.
I publish this video. Yes, I'm one of the earliest things I learned about Advent, which equal parts felt compelling and a little concerning, is that Advent is known as a little Lent,
Yeah.
and that is so countercultural. I don't think there's a liturgical season in the whole calendar that's
Right.
more countercultural than
Yes. I
Advent.
totally agree.
Yes. And one of the things that Claude Atcho wrote in his book, Rhythms of Faith, which we're going to do a drawing for here in a minute, he talks about the way Advent has its own unique purpose, its own personality in the liturgical calendar. And I think it's appropriate, which is how I've looked at it for years now, as a preparation for Christmas. It's a way of being prepared, similar to the way we look at Lent as a place of, as you're saying, seeking, forgiveness, noticing if there's ways that we need to grow or to repent, to confess. And Lent works like that so that we can enter the fullness of Easter, the full
Yes.
celebration. And I
Yeah.
think that's true of Advent and Christmas. And also, there's something about Advent that's doing its own work all by itself. So it works together with the liturgical calendar, with Christmas, and it
Yeah.
has its own fully orbed personality and
Right.
place in our lives.
Right.
So I'm growing
Yeah.
in that this year. I'm thinking about that more this year and
Yeah.
wanting to be open to that.
But I do love what you said because, we know as Christians that we should be living in a countercultural way.
Mhm.
And oftentimes you feel like, am I living in but Advent, like you said, is the most countercultural season, and the
Yes.
emphasis on still the three pillars of Lent, almsgiving,
Mhm.
fasting, and prayer. Same thing with Advent, and one of the things also is almsgiving. Like we should really be thinking about the poor, really
Mhm.
be thinking about those in need around us. So it's so opposite because our culture is telling us, what do I want for Christmas? What
Yeah.
can I buy? And what we really should be thinking is being mindful of the poor and taking care of them and helping them during
Mhm.
Advent. So I love it. It's just so beautifully countercultural.
Yeah. Yes. If you've ever, I mean, I love to share this with folks in my day book too. If you ever have this feeling of, I really want to prove that I'm living by another system than the world system, and sometimes that does involve big grand things.
Mhm.
But in Advent, it can be as simple as I'm going to turn off the lights at
Yeah.
dinner and light a candle and pray, and maybe invite my neighbor, to join
Yes.
me. That there's
Yeah.
the way that all of us need the quieting and the stillness and the kind of lament
Yeah.
and stretching toward hope that Adam offers is, dare I say, one of the most evangelistic things we could offer
Mhm.
as well. I
Yeah.
know that word has a lot of baggage. So now I'm getting way beyond the scope of our, our time. So let me just remind folks, if you want to be able to watch a replay of this video, make sure you subscribe. Free subscribers, paid subscribers, everyone will have access to this video on at tamarahillmurphy.substack at .com. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, I think so. I'll link it here, and that replay or the recording will go out in a day or two with all the notes and links. I just heartily encourage you to follow, subscribe, and support the three companions that are journeying with me at Advent Daybook this year, and that's Ashley, Claude Atcho, and Victoria Emily Jones. And I will make sure that you have links so that you can do that with them. Please consider Ashley's liturgical home planner or calendar, and I'll make sure you have a link to that. And I'm sure if you have questions about it, Ashley has a place you can reach out to her to ask
Mhm.
questions. Where's the best place for folks to reach out to you?
Probably AshleyTumlinWallace.com,
Okay.
or they can look me up on Substack. It's called The Liturgical Home.
Okay. And I'll make sure they have that link
Okay.
too.
Okay.
All right. So now the last thing we're going to do, and you're going to help me with, and I'm so sorry, Claude, if you're watching this, I meant to have a copy of your book. The problem is Brian, my husband, Brian, who's also an Anglican priest, we're sharing one copy. We just need to get ourselves another copy. And so he keeps taking it to his place, his reading spot, and I keep taking it to mine. And anyway, it's in his reading spot today.
I
But it's a
have
beautiful
one.
cover.
I have one if you want me to go get it. Do you want me
No,
to go
that's
get it?
okay.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
But all right, so so this drawing is for folks who were paid subscribers or gifted a subscription or renewed a subscription at Restful in the month of November. And then I'm going to send them, whoever's name we draw here, I'm going to send them a copy of Claude's book. So since normally I'm just using a random number generator, I thought it'd be fun if you would pick a number between 1 and 60,
Okay.
and then I can read the name here on Substack Live.
Okay. I picked 12.
12. Is there a reason you love the number
No.
12?
No, it just came into my head.
I love it. 12 is a good number. 12 is a good number, especially when we're talking about a church calendar.
Yes.
So, Diane Weidman or Weidman. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Diane, you won a copy of Claude's book. And Claude actually has two books. He has another one called Reading Black Books, which is excellent. So, Diane, I'll reach out to you and ask you which one you would prefer, and I'll make sure you get a copy in the mail soon. Ashley, thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you for
this.
having
I
me.
had a lot of fun, and
Yes.
if you're game, I'd love to do this again. Is there anything else you want to add before we go?
No, just I hope that all of you have a blessed Advent.
I do
Thank you for
too.
having me.
Yes, peace of Christ to you all today. And I look forward to continuing together as we walk through Advent. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Bye.
Goodbye.